to keep yourselves muted until it's time for me to call upon you.
What if I were to suggest that you play a key role in the awakening world? And that you are watching this because you have heard the call. We can start right now by opening our hearts and minds. Welcome to the awakening world.
Welcome, everybody. It is the Sacred Sunday Show, our special Sunday edition of the Awakening World. And this weekend, we have been exploring our moment of choice. Now, the inspiration is this wonderful, wonderful book. And I know that many of you have been with us on Friday night and/or last night, where we have had so many wonderful presenters. Reverend Deb Muldum, who was my co-host for the last two shows, Michael Beckwith and John Perkins, and so many others. And today we've got four beautiful souls, plus Omashar playing music, who are going to be joining us. So we're going to hear all about their contributions to this wonderful book. And we're going to be talking about what does our moment of choice really mean. So I want to welcome those of you that are watching on Facebook or one of the YouTube channels. And you're welcome to watch from there, but we'd love for you to join us. Come on into our Zoom room, and it's really easy to do that. Go to a website, our website, which is globalpeacetribe.com. That's globalpeacetribe.com, and register. And it's free. You can use a promo code of new friend, and you're going to get the links to all of our shows for the next 2 months. We do a show every Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday, exploring important topics. This week, of course, it's our moment of choice. Last week, we were working with Earth Day. Next week, we're going to be all about healers and healing, and so on and so forth. It's always tips, tools, and practices with luminary leaders helping us to awaken individually and collectively. Also, whether you're on Facebook or in our Zoom room, let us know where you're from. We always enjoy seeing people from all over. And I know right off the bat, we've got people from British Columbia and Alabama and New England, and always people from all over when it comes to Unify. And so let us know where you're from. It is the Sacred Sunday Show, and we are multi-denominational. We don't support any one particular idea, but we do always like to take this time to honor the sanctity of each other. And I also want to say Happy Mother's Day to any of you who are watching. It is Mother's Day, and so let's definitely incorporate that theme into what we express and talk about today. And we have a wonderful person to lead our morning meditation. You guys can hear Scott do it anytime, but we get to hear it today from Reverend Sylvia Sumter. And I'm so grateful to have you on. Deborah Moldau has been singing your praises. And just by brief introduction, she's the senior minister of Unity of Washington, D.C. since 1991. And I really look forward to hearing. I know that your sermons have honored all spiritual paths and the spirit of unify and unity. And look forward to hearing how you like to express yourself. So, welcome, Sylvia. Really happy to have you with us. And
well, thank you so much, Scott, and greetings of love to all those who are tuning in from around the globe. It really is about us coming together as a collective. So let's take advantage of that. And in whatever way feels comfortable for you, if you'll allow yourself to become consciously present to this moment. And if it feels comfortable, you can close your eyes. And I always say, even if we close our eyes, we keep the heart open. So I invite you to just take a few conscious, deep breaths. For we all know that breathing is the key to life. And it brings the energy of peace, of centeredness, of openness, and connection. So just take some conscious breaths, allowing yourself to be fully present to the moment, in the moment. And as you open your heart, there we find peace. With an open heart, we can feel one another's presence. We can center into that calming spirit that indwells all life. For we are one people with many different expressions. We inhabit one earth with many different life expressions and life forms. We are one planet within the universe of infinite stars, galaxies, and yet we are all connected. So on this sacred day, this sacred Sunday, this Mother's Day, as we focus on the heart center, we can feel love. Let us give rise to love. Love for all things. For love brings everything to life. Love expands the beauty and the goodness in every living thing. So we love today. We let love bless, heal, and harmonize. As we rest now, just for a brief moment, rest in the silence and feel the love that is present in the open heart. Just be still for a brief moment. Peace. Be still. Be love. So take a deep breath. And let us now go into this day with open hearts and open minds as we receive the blessings that have been prepared for us by these beloved souls. And for this, we are deeply grateful and thankful. Let's inhale together. And so it is, and so it shall be. To all people, blessings.
Oh, that was so perfect. Can you please come here every Sunday? That was absolutely, but once you took us into just love, it's like, where else can we go? It's like,
Yeah.
in that moment, it's like, there it is, right?
Yeah.
So, thank you so much. Well, while the spotlight is on you, and then of course we're going to hear from our other wonderful presenters, what does our moment of choice mean to you?
It's so powerful, Scott. This is the book in and of itself is a powerful rendition from all these beautiful souls. And the title, I understand, was selected a little bit before the world moved into this phase of infinite expression. But it's so true. Every moment, especially now, is our moment of choice. And choice for me means it's an action, it's a verb. And it is really time. For me, it means it's time for each of us to put forth some type of action, expression, an answer to a call. We've all been preparing for this moment. So we've had enough preparation, but now it's time to really do. So for me, it's my moment to choose the high road, to stand up, to take a stand for humanity, to speak my truth, speaking truth to power, to open my heart, to let those who I might think are the other in. So it's just everything that is moving me to choice, which is action. And it's my moment. It's all of our moments, really. This is a powerful time. And so for me, it's choosing to do what is necessary in that moment, to speak truth, to speak love, to show love, to demonstrate, to manifest. All of these are action words. And this is the time. We can't wait any longer because this is the moment right here and right now. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Well, we're going to hear more from you, but I want to bring on Bob Atkinson because Bob is one of the people who actually put this book together. He was the co-editor. And so, Bob, thank you. It's such a beautiful book. And tell us a little bit about your experience and what our moment of choice means to you.
Thanks so much, Scott. It's great to be with you and on this sacred Sunday, this Mother's Day. It's really been a delight for me to work with Deborah Maldo and Kurt Johnson on the editorial team for this book, as well as with Diane on the book team, and with all of the 43 contributors. We're all convinced that there's never been a moment in history when humanity has faced such a range of vitally critical choices as we have before us today. When we first started out putting this book together in early 2019, we wanted to bring hope to a world faced with unprecedented crises. Then the pandemic hit and spotlighted all those crises even more. Mm-hmm. Now, 3 years later, as we launched this paperback edition, we may be emerging from the pandemic if we're lucky, but have we learned the lessons we needed to from it? All those global crises are still with us, threatening our very survival, from climate change, global economic inequality, and increasing social injustice, to a war of indiscriminate aggression, the endangerment of global freedom, and more. Humanity continues to be afflicted by strife and division. and our collective will to achieve the age-old vision of peace on earth is being tested as never before. One thing we are seeing more clearly now is that all these global crises are tied together. They are interdependent with each other. This holistic perspective is needed in all the choices we all make. Understanding reality, the entire creation we're all part of as one whole, leaves no choice but to see all these choices as one, as they are all interconnected parts of the same whole. Mm-hmm. The only choice we really have is which consciousness are we going to live by? A consciousness of separation or a consciousness of wholeness? Even this choice is made clearer because we also understand better now that we are one human family living together on one planet. It's also clearer that the only relevant and useful story now is one that contributes to restoring the world to its inherent wholeness. As Deepak Chopra said in his chapter, the road to wholeness begins by knowing what's at stake, a complete shift in the way we relate to reality. So only a united narrative in which all elements of the whole are seen as one makes sense anymore as a story worth telling. We are the ones who need to be telling our unitive stories to help facilitate a successful transformation to the next level of human consciousness. This is our moment of choice because, with our precarious future in the balance and a global shift in consciousness well underway, we need to act consciously to immediately harness our collective power and choose a flourishing, life-affirming future. This is our moment to support an evolutionary leap, to co-create a collective vision of a just, peaceful, and flourishing world, to nurture authentic relationships, to build vibrant and compassionate communities working together to uplift all, and to join hands across differences and across boundaries to build a better world. So I like to think of this as our Paul Revere moment, except that for those that remember early American history, while the midnight ride of Paul Revere was for independence, our midnight ride is to raise a voice in the darkness, to spread the alarm throughout the land for interdependence. The fate of a nation, the fate of the planet, rides on all of us heeding this call to action. This is our moment of choice to unite in purpose, to ensure our collective well-being, to spread respect, compassion, and cooperation. The very nature of the evolution of consciousness is what gives us an abiding hope in the future.
Wow, Bob, thank you so much. That's just beautifully stated. I see Eleanor Joy and Reverend Sylvia are applauding, and that was just beautifully, beautifully stated. Thank you. And I got so excited about you being the co-editor of the book. I didn't do all the other things, but Bob is also the author of 8 other books and the founding director of One Planet Peace Forum. And we'll go take a look in a little bit later on in the show and learn a little bit more about some of the other things that you're doing, Bob. But thank you. That was beautifully stated. I'm so grateful to have you with us this morning. Thank you. Well, I'm going to bring on another one of your friends, and this is Diane Williams. And she is the founder and president of the Source of Synergy Foundation. Now, that gave birth, there's kind of a genealogy here. In the beginning, there was Diane, and it was good. And as the founder and president of Synergy Foundation, Source of Synergy Foundation, that gave birth to the Evolutionary Leaders Circle, and that is where the book, Our Moment of Choice, came out of. And she also contributed a chapter to the book. She's also served as chairperson of the NGO Committee on Spirituality, Values, and Global Concerns at the United Nations. and she's received numerous awards. Diane, I, of course, have seen you on many of the Evolutionary Leaders calls, but it's so good to finally have you on the Awakening World and get to know you a little bit. And thank you for all that you've given birth to. Do you feel, on this Mother's Day, do you feel like a
My
proud
baby.
mama? Yeah,
Yes,
because
I
these are your children.
Thank you, Scott. So many thanks to you and the team at the Global Peace Tribe, the Awakening World, for inviting us on the program, and for all of you tuning in. Greetings. And I just want to say that I believe that not only is this our moment of choice, but it's also our decade of choice, 2020 to 2030, because what humanity does at this moment will determine the destiny of not only our species, but countless others on planet Earth. So every single choice we make, every action we take now has the weight, but also that blessing of the responsibility, because this choice point is saying we can choose to keep going the way we've been going, or to choose to fully bring the light of consciousness into the world. And so what is required now is really a worldwide effort from every corner of the globe, so dramatic that it will change the very fabric of our reality. And that, I think, the biggest choice we can make right now is love. And I loved your theme song. We come from the same source, a powerful love force, and what Reverend Sylvia was saying, let love bless us, heal us, and harmonize. And I just wanted to share personally, I had a choice recently to go to the Poland-Ukrainian border to support the refugees.
Wow.
And I had to think about that choice, and it was my love for the people and all that I was seeing that said, yes, I am going to make this choice. I could stay in my mundane, kind of life, just doing my routine, or really go and follow my heart and be there for everyone that I could. And I think we all have the innate abilities to really transmute our ordinary states of consciousness, our ordinary lives, into something extraordinary and something that could be meaningful for others. And just wanted to share something that I found really fascinating. There's a scientifically controlled study that was conducted by German researchers at the University of Kassel, and maybe some of you have heard of this, but they showed that the chest, our chest area of the average person, emits about 20 photons of light per second.
Wow.
But someone that meditates on their heart center and sends love and light to others emits an amazing 100,000 photons per second. And this level of light can actually be detected. And they say the emission of light particles, the biophotons, which are stored in the intercellular DNA, seems to be the mechanism through which an intention produces its effects. So we know Lynn McTaggart's work. She's one of our contributors to the book. She talks about the power of intention, and she has groups of 8, she calls them, that works on supporting somebody's healing through an intention. So all of us, all living organisms, emit photons as a means to direct instantaneous non-local signals from one part of our bodies to another and to the outside world. And our intentions appear to operate as highly coherent frequencies, capable of changing the molecular structure of matter, heal disease, and transform negative events. And studies have also shown that the energy of thoughts and intentions can alter the environment. So I think that, we're seeing so much about so many global challenges, including climate change, but we have the power to even affect some of the worst crises that we're seeing in the world today, because we've seen for centuries, yogis and shamans and others have been using their multidimensional abilities to calm storms and redirect hurricanes. So this is a human ability that can be learned. And I believe that we all have this power to make this type of change, and just further activating these multidimensional abilities could be the key to reversing climate change. And it's truly a global imperative right now that we choose to step into a new reality and activate our abilities so that we can more consciously direct our future. And I remember Dr. Joe Dispenza said once, we should go from cause and effect to causing an effect. And I think we could do that on many levels. So it's truly our moment of choice. And we have a lot of choices, and we have a lot of reason for hope because we do have these powers within us.
Wow. I did not know that about the photons. And that was fascinating. And I want to introduce Justin and hear from him, but then I want to get back to what you just brought up. And I want us as a group to talk a little bit about that. That was really fascinating. So thank you so much for being with us, Diane.
Thank you.
It's really beautiful to have you here. And we'll be back with Diane in a moment. I am bringing on Justin Fairman, and I'm grateful that we have multiple generations represented here. Justin is an international speaker, a serial entrepreneur, a serial spelled Serial, as opposed to Cheerios. And probably most of all, he's a consciousness researcher working to create large-scale shifts in human consciousness, to integrate our high-level intuitional skills more deeply into the business world and everyday life. Go, Justin, that's what we need. And he's all about delivering solutions and focused media to a global audience. Well, welcome to the awakening world. He's the co-founder of the Flow Consciousness Institute. We certainly are going to look forward to learning about that. Conscious Lifestyle Magazine, we'll take a look at that. Justin, you're doing a lot, and thank you so much. It's also a pleasure to meet you, and I want to learn more about the different businesses that you're doing. But I guess we'll start with that initial question right now. What does our moment choice mean to Justin at this time in your life?
Yeah, thanks so much for the intro, Scott, and good to be here with everyone. And for me, the way that I see the world, the reality that we're experiencing now is the cumulative sum total of all previous choices that humanity has made collectively. And that begets the opportunity that we have to make different choices going forward. And I think that, it's easy to look at the world and feel overwhelmed by the scale of the problems that we face, or the challenges or opportunities, depending on what flavor of empowering language you want to use. But so it's easy to feel overwhelmed by that. And how can I individually make a difference? Or, these things seem to be set in motion by forces that are, like way beyond our ability to shape and control. But it's really illusion. And the fact that all of what we're experiencing has been created by our choices to date shows that by making different choices, we can actually steer, our destiny into a completely different direction. And I always really, to follow on what Diane said, you really set up beautifully so much of my philosophy is that, us as individuals are so important, that the collective is nothing but a bunch of individuals. And so if we don't each take responsibility for making different choices and making choices that support the reality that we want to create, we'll never get it done. So it really comes back at the end of the day to each of us individually, that the most important thing you can do, like Gandhi said, is to be the change in your own life, to make choices that support the reality that you want to see, that's healthy, thriving, harmonious, sustainable, all these different things, regenerative. So for me, our moment of choice is literally right at home in our personal roost. Like, how are we living? What are we choosing? Are we choosing fear, or are we choosing love? We're choosing to be hyper rational and, listen to doomsday science that is very biased, or are we choosing to listen to our heart, what we know is possible in our hearts and in our minds and in our dreams? And so, so choice is the crux of everything in my experience. And so it's a beautiful topic for the book, and a beautiful topic to meditate on, that how can our individual choices feed the mosaic of choices that is humanity's destiny.
Wow, beautifully stated. Okay, I'm going to bring everybody up because I want to riff on kind of what I just heard Justin saying and what Diane said. And so let me bring everybody on so we can see each other. So here, I'm going to go in an interesting direction of a question. Most of us are pretty familiar with quantum physics, that life is an illusion. I personally believe that it's a dream world. It's a dream within a dream within a dream within a dream. But we're here to learn lessons of love. I'd love to hear from each of you. What's the balance of holding just the highest vision possible and trusting that somehow we will awaken into that vision? But a skeptic could say that that's a spiritual bypass to avoid taking responsibility for the down-to-earth practical choices we need to make, because clearly humankind has not been making sustainable choices. So my question is the balance between kind of like the highest possible vision of just imagining a healthy future versus embracing the very real kind of problems without getting lost in those problems, but dealing with them. And I'm really asking that as a question. I'm trying to ask it as neutrally as I can. So I'd love to hear what any or all of you have to respond to that. It's a bit philosophical. We'll go with Reverend Sylvia first, okay?
Yeah, I love that question because I've been thinking, I looked at the title and it says it's our moment of choice, evolutionary visions and hope for the future. And for me, it's not an either or, but it's a both and. We have to hold the vision because we know, and I love what you said, Diane, and what you shared. So that was just so powerful. It's everything that I believe, because in the subtle world, we have to work in the subtle world with subtle energy, spiritual energy, which is not seen or touched or felt, except for in our innermost being. So we have to hold that vision, which means you hold a vision spiritually. The energy of holding the vision is what helps it to manifest in a physical reality. So it's the law, as within, so without. So we have to do both. We must touch into that inner realm and hold this vision with as much energy as we can from our heart center, because the heart's vibration is the strongest vibration in the body, and it's the strongest vibration that we can emit. So when we're coming from this highest place within us, it's not the brain, but it's the consciousness and the wisdom of the heart that is the higher place. When we come from that and hold this vision, that begins to gather and draw the dynamic energy needed for manifestation. So while we're doing that, we also and holding this vision of a world we want to see in the heart, the wisdom of the heart, with not just the mind's eye, but the eye of the heart that can see the greater vision, the greater hope, the greater value of life itself. When we hold that and vibrate at that level, then we have the ability and capacity to then take action in the physical realm to, do whatever is needed, whether it's to bring healing to the relationships or taking steps to heal Mother Earth, or calming down the aggressive energy so that there's a unified energy at the collective whole that begins to take hold in people's consciousness. So it's a both and I think our part as people on the planet, we're all visionaries. Mm-hmm. So let's hold that vision. And we have a saying that says, when you pray, you have to move your feet. So when you pray, move your feet. We're going to hold the vision, and then we take action. Whatever is ours to do, we express it so that affects the entire, world. So for me, it's a both and.
Beautiful answer to a complex question. Well done. Well done. Who else would like to, anybody else want to add to that or respond or riff on it?
Well, I think we all have to, when we think about what happened at the beginning of our universe, right? There was the Big Bang. We were all connected at one point. So you talk about quantum physics, we're still connected at this point in time. So what we do to one, there's a ripple effect. So I think about the importance, like for instance, if we want world peace, we have to attain inner peace. If we want to see more kindness in the world, we have to put out more acts of kindness. I was reading recently that acts of kindness, like it increases your level of dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins. And it's really interesting because the same thing happens to the person that you just supported. So a personal story from a few days ago, I was in Milan, Italy, and I had to get a taxi. And it was a female taxi driver, which is extremely rare in Italy. And she was driving super careful. I just admired how she was driving. And at the end of the ride, I complimented her and I gave her a tip. And usually in Italy, they don't give tips. It's not like in the US and other places in the world. And I just told her how much I appreciated her. And she turned around and she looked me straight in the eye and she said, you know, I've never heard that from one of my passengers before. Thank you so much, because it affirms what I'm trying to do is just to be a good driver and keep my passengers safe. And I so appreciate it. So it wasn't even so much about the tip, but it was more about the appreciation. So I think if we could walk through the world with everybody on our radar in that way, I think the world will just be a kinder place. And I think it's just really key that we think in every moment, you know, every moment we have a choice from the minute we get up to the minute we go to sleep. And what can we do to make other people's lives better? And what's interesting about acts of kindness too, is that the mirror neurons, when somebody's watching you, maybe you're helping somebody across the street or you're helping somebody with their groceries, whatever it is, somebody that's watching that is actually their mirror neurons are starting to fire. So it also makes them, you know, in the quantum world, want to do the same. So I think we can never underestimate the power of our choices because they have a life of their own.
Beautiful. I love that. And I love the simplicity of the story about the taxi cab, because it's true. Just being kind, even to people that we meet for a moment. Marshall Rosenberg was a very important mentor in my life, and I had the pleasure to travel with him, teach with him, study with him. And my favorite quote from Marshall is, "The greatest joy in life is to contribute to the well-being of others." And in the 15 plus years, well, actually now 20 plus years since I first heard him say that, what I've come to realize is the greatest tragedy in human life is people who haven't learned that, right? It's a blessing when we learn, oh, the greatest joy is by being kind, by being generous. And we don't do it to be spiritual. We do it because it feels good. Like you said, it actually creates dopamine, right? But it's tragic, people who haven't learned that. And so they're still looking for this, you know, to the external world, whatever it is, to fill the black hole of Calcutta, which just, you know, is unfillable. And so I really love that. And I think it is, you know, it's like Sylvia, Reverend Sylvia gave us kind of the big picture, but thank you for also giving us the day-to-day, moment-to-moment picture on how we use our moment of choice to create the world we want to live in. I'd love to hear what Justin and or Bob have to say about this. So I'm going to add you guys. Bob?
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say is that, you know, that in many ways, I think the whole problem is that we have a bunch of people taking action without clear vision or direction, and that they are just operating in the predefined rules that they were born into, the predefined cultural structures that we've been born into, and not really questioning, are these good for me? Are these good for the planet? Am I actually healthy, happy, fulfilled? And so to say that it's spiritual bypassing to just be in the vision, I think is a little bit backwards. And I think that the spiritual bypassing is really not stepping up a few levels and questioning, why am I actually doing this? Like bringing consciousness to our everyday lives. Like in my definition of consciousness, it's the awareness, it's the meta awareness of what we're doing and why we're doing it, and asking and being intentional about these things. So I think that division is actually really the solution to most of our problems, is that we need to get out of just acting without really knowing why or understanding the impacts of that. Step up, step back a few levels, be mindful and really understand like where we want to go. What do we want to intentionally create? What are we choosing to create individually, as a species, and so on? And then from there, reimagining what actions are necessary in order to create that reality that we want to see for ourselves. So like Sylvia said, I think that they're both are integral and essential, but if they're not both being informed by a strong vision or consciousness, then we're going to end up continuing to stumble and trip around and, you know, pollute our planet and fight and all these different things because we haven't really questioned the operating system that we're living under. So I think that the solution is stepping back into vision first and foremost, and really getting clear on what is the beautiful future we want to dream for ourselves. And then from that place, seeing where the chips want to fall and how each of us, based on our unique purpose and archetypes and so on, fit in the larger puzzle of bringing that into form.
Justin, I love that. That's really beautiful. Yeah, so get clear on the vision, kind of a higher self, God-directed vision, that part of us. And then once we're clear on vision, what do I do today? What wants to happen today? What steps do I take? So beautiful. I'll add one other little thought to it. I'm a big fan of the Beatles, but I think they kind of blew it with All You Need Is Love. It's a beautiful song, but we need more than love. But I wish they had made it do everything with love, right? It's so important for us, whatever it is we're doing. That taxi driver that Diane spoke of, she was doing her job with love. We all know what it's like to be at a restaurant and have a waiter that does it with love versus someone who just doesn't do it with love. So get clear on the vision and do it all with love. I'm gonna bring Bob on, and hey Bob, you've got a friend who's watching. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Watching on Unify is Heidi Veer-Taylor, and she says, I was blessed to have met Bob Atkinson here in our home state of Maine in Wabanaki territory. So Heidi is sending her blessings, and I wanted to let you know that. What are your thoughts either about Heidi or about the Wabanaki territory or the question we're talking about?
Oh, wow, there's a whole lot there. But I did want to go back to your original question, which I thought was great, and also your quote that you gave us from your mentor. I think that's really key to remember as we talk about these big picture subjects, because that quote that you gave and your addition to it is really what's meant to be the outcome and the result of every transformational mystic journey. That's what we end up with, is that understanding. And so kind of to tie that into your original question for this round, it's the whole part about how do we create that balance between what appear to be maybe two opposing forces. And as Sylvia and others have said, it's not one or the other. It really is both. And from my and many spiritual traditions, there's a way to bring those two sides of that question about balance into focus. And that there's a saying that does that goes, walk the spiritual path with practical feet. And if we really understand what that means, I mean, we get an understanding of that as well when we've accomplished, completed the journey that leads to an understanding of the quote that you referred to earlier as well. So for me, that really, that a big part of understanding and achieving that balance also has to do with understanding the nature of consciousness and what it's really meant to do for us, how we can utilize the consciousness that we've been gifted with as human beings. And so this kind of also comes from my next book, which will be coming out later this year, called Living into Wholeness, a guide to the new story of our evolving consciousness, that's based not only on a universal principle found in or pattern, a universal pattern found in mythology, mysticism, rites of passage, and psychology. That book is also built on 3 principles, one of which is the consciousness principle. And I think of the consciousness principle as consciousness is an innate potentiality unfolding toward right relationships on all levels. Yet this is dependent upon the initiative we take to actively investigate reality. So it's not by any means an automatic thing that we will come to even an awareness of what might be possible or might be our personal superpowers or whatever that might be. It involves a real conscious process. And the good news is that we're all capable of living into this wholeness. And that to me was made really clear by Evelyn Underhill, who I sort of think of as the mother of mysticism with her studies on mysticism. She said, the germ of the transcendent life, the spring of the amazing energy which enables the great mystics to arise to freedom, is latent in all of us, an integral part of our humanity. So when we think of the collective being the result of what the individuals have done, that's so true, and it's so important, as we've all pointed out as well, that what the individual does is critical to how and where the collective ends up. I also think of consciousness as a continuum that we evolve along. And I could take another minute if we have it to say a little bit about the what I think of as the consciousness continuum, because a holistic view of our evolving consciousness allows us to see that all variations of consciousness exist within the same whole at the same time. And in this consciousness continuum of the whole, all states of consciousness are interconnected and interdependent as links in a chain. So we can look at the consciousness continuum as two sides, having two sides. One side is guided by a consciousness of duality, which is where that split between the two halves is always present. And that side creates hierarchies, builds systems of injustice, leads to stereotyping, discrimination, violence, and ends up with genocide and war, endangering our very survival. This side of the continuum gives us only a partial view of reality built upon separation. But the other side of the continuum is guided by a consciousness of wholeness and moves us from respect for difference toward compassion for all. Upholding universal human rights, gender equality, economic equity, and social justice leads to unity in diversity, all interconnected stepping stones to peace. So on this side of the continuum, a holistic view of reality sees all things as they are, aspects of one reality. And all of that, from the perspective on that side of the continuum, all parts fit together as a unified field, a mysterious harmony, a hidden wholeness. And so that's how the individual is so intricately interconnected with the collective. And the collective depends upon the conscious evolution of the individual. And both happen in partnership with each other. So I think we're, as a whole, I think individually and collectively, we are moving toward a clear understanding of that balance that you started out with in that question, and how it really is a matter of both possibilities, both options, views, becoming different aspects of the same whole. So I'll leave it there for now.
That's beautiful. I'm going to bring your friends on. And I have another question that I just want us to start with as a group. And it's actually built around something on Bob's website. Bob has the Oneness Pledge. And I'm going to read it and then ask a question about it. This is from his website, which is, you'll find at robertatkinson.net. And he encourages us to take the Oneness Pledge, which is, in all my thoughts and actions, I pledge to look on all things with the eye of oneness. Or he said an alternative form is, I see all things with the eye of oneness. That's a beautiful pledge. And I'd love to ask each of you, what's a mantra that you use that helps you to see the world from a higher perspective or from a more loving perspective? Because I'm imagining, Bob, that pledge, you probably have done that, I'm sure, thousands of times now because you created it. So maybe, Bob, you can start by talking how it impacts you. And then I'd love to hear what mantra or pledge our other presenters here use in their lives.
Thanks, Scott, for noticing that. And any kind of a pledge really is something that we make a choice to strive for. It's not something that happens automatically, quickly, even. It's something we choose to work toward. So that's so that pledge is like all others in that sense. It's something we in our own way commit to, strive to live into. And the more interactions we have that bring that, interactions with others that bring that pledge to mind, the more opportunities we'll have to put that into practice in our everyday interactions and live into it. So it's a process of it's an ongoing process, a daily ongoing process for me, and I would imagine for most people.
Beautiful. Well, who else would like to share a pledge that, or a mantra that you run that you find supportive? Anybody else want to share?
I can share. The mantra that I use pretty frequently is I see you, like an avatar, that one quote, I see you. Bob talked about consciousness based on right relationships on all levels. And I think about that a lot because we look at the war in Ukraine, we're out of relationship with each other. At least some people are, not everybody. I don't want to say everybody. But then we look at our relationship with nature, how we've exploited nature. We don't see nature. I know sometimes I try to go outside and sit in the same place every day. So nature gets to know me, I get to know nature. And also out of right relationship with animals. We know that the pandemic or a lot of pandemics, the virus is caused by us not being in right relationship with animals, whether we're encroaching on their land, so they're coming towards where humans are living, or we're putting them in cages at a market. Or so I try to go through the world with my mantra, I see you. So I was on a farm a while back, and there was some baby calves outside, probably, I had a feeling I knew their faith, but really looking at them in the eyes and saying, I'm sorry, I see you. And just wanted to mention really quickly, the town I live in now is called Leiden in the Netherlands. I'm here part-time. And people, I just wonder why people are so happy and at ease. And I just, see them. They're sitting, they're having coffee by the canal. They're just good to each other. They really see each other. They're not on their phones all the time. The young people are playing and having a good time. And I think it's because the government sees them, because they are there for them. They know they have a safety net. They don't have to worry. They give you rent support. If somebody has a new baby, even if you don't need it, they'll give you money to welcome the new baby. It's just an amazing way to live. So everybody has their needs met. And I think if the whole world, if we were able to see, every single person could see the whole world in this way, we wouldn't have the global challenges that we currently have. So yeah, that's my mantra. I see you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And yes, the theme of the most popular movie of all time. I see, because we do all want to be seen clearly. So thank you for that. Reverend Sylvia, I think I saw you starting to speak also.
Yeah. Actually, the mantra that I use often comes from a retreat I attended with the Brahma Kumaris and my good friend, some of you may know, Sister Dr. Jenna. And the Brahma Kumaris had this saying, I am a peaceful soul. And something about hearing that, when I heard it at the retreat, it went deep into my soul and it opened me up. And I just love it. It's so simple. I am a peaceful soul. And what it does when I'm not in that state of peace, I'm able to see that. And I can then bring myself into a better vibration by affirming, well, you know what? I'm a peaceful soul. So my soul seeks peace. My soul seeks oneness. And when I am experiencing something other than what I know my heart wants to seek, it's present. And I get then the opportunity to make a choice to continue on the path that is not bringing me peace, or to get back in touch with my nature, which says, I really am. I'm a peaceful soul. And so something about that really just speaks to me, and it helps me. I use it as a mantra. I use it as a reminder, and I use it as a mirror for when I'm not in that state of consciousness.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much. Of course, I'd love to hear then from Justin. How do you keep yourself centered?
Yeah, well, one of my favorite mantras is everything is happening for me, or everything is happening for us collectively, which I believe both are true. And, it's this idea that there really is no bad or wrong experience, only an opportunity for learning, for growth, evolution, healing, and so on. And when you look at what's happening in your life or what's happening in the world through that lens, you can begin to have an empowering experience of what's happening, even if that experience is really challenging, or that some might consider it to be a problem. And that looking through that lens, we realize that everything is an opportunity ultimately, and everything has a silver lining, and everything has the potential for positive impact if we choose to see it that way and make a choice to embrace it on that level. And bringing it full circle back to our moment of choice, it's like, this is a very empowering and powerful frame to see the world. That everything is happening for our highest good. Everything is an opportunity. If we could all collectively start doing that, then we would very quickly start to shift reality in the direction that we want it, instead of lamenting, how crazy things are getting and how hopeless they seem. So it's always a choice. And I think, what I shared and what everyone shared here, we can all embrace these things. It's going to really make a huge impact.
Beautiful, Justin. Thank you. I'm going to share one from one of our viewers. I'm going to put the spotlight on her as I read it. Eleanor Joy is one of our regulars, and her mantra is, I am a vessel of love, giving love, receiving love. So thank you, Eleanor Joy. That's beautiful. Thank you. And I guess I'll share mine. I'll tell a quick story about it. My mantra for at least 25 years has been, I am a clear channel for spirit to flow through. I was born and raised in LA, and I was in the entertainment industry at a very early age, and very type A personality. I had 85 employees by the time I was 21, won my first Emmy Award at 23, blah, blah, blah. And a big part of my life's journey has been going from type A personality and mentally directed to spirit directed. And it's a journey that at age 66, I'm still working on it. But that mantra of I'm a clear channel for spirit to flow through, which I've probably done 20,000 times by now, really helps me to come back into alignment. And I make my living as a coach and a teacher. And life tends to send me people dealing with really hard stuff. I work with people that are facing divorce or death or cancer or terminal disease or things like that. And very often, my main thing is to listen and to give empathy, always lead with empathy. But then it comes a time for me to respond or to offer support or advice. And sometimes I just don't know where to go. And I've had the experience of, I'll close my eyes, I'm with a client, and it's time for me to say something, and I'm just not getting it intellectually where to go. And I'll close my eyes and I'll run that mantra, and my mouth will open and words will come out from a different source, not from my brain or some different part of my brain. And of course, inevitably, whatever comes out is what that person needed to hear. They go, oh my God, how did you know that? And it's been really helpful for me. So when I actually first saw Bob's pledge, it triggered my memory of my mantra that has supported me. And so I'm glad we got a chance to kind of hear people's different mantras. We're now in the final half hour. So that's where if people have questions, you better get the questions now. So that I can read them to our people, and I keep looking down to see people's questions. But I also want to use this time to get to know each of our presenters a little bit more. So I'm going to go to, again, kind of in the Mother's Day theme, I'm going to the mother of all of this, Diane Williams, and the Source of Synergy Foundation. And Diane, I'm going to actually go to the website and ask you to tell us a little bit about the Source of Synergy Foundation, what it is and how it works and all of that. And of course, right at the top of the page is our moment of choice. So everybody, the website is sourceofsynergyfoundation.org, sourceofsynergyfoundation.org. And of course, first thing we should do is order the book if we haven't done that already. But Diane, tell us about the foundation and direct me to any places you might want me to go to.
Sure. So we started about 15 years ago. We were in New York, had a conversation with Deepak Chopra, gave him sense of, I was telling him I was at the UN and people were working mainly in silos. And I had a vision to create deeper synergy in the world, and mentioned I wanted to bring leaders together. And he said, great, let's do it together. So that was the biggest gift that I could get, including as well as Deborah Moldo, who's another huge gift. She's the director of the EL Circle and doing a fantastic job. She's an amazing being, as you know, Scott.
Yeah.
So that's how it started. It just started with just saying, let's bring some people together, see what happens. How can we be a more powerful force together, so the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And then people wanted to keep meeting through the Evolutionary Leaders Circle, and the website for that is evolutionaryleaders.net. And we've been together for quite a while. Thanks to Kurt Johnson, we have many, many synergy circles on different topics. And so we just believe that synergy is really the force that powers a transformed world. So whether that's synergy between people, between organizations, between constituents and politicians, but just whenever you come together with that intention to do something together, we feel that that energy creates a greater and higher vibration than if you could do it alone. It's just, we're welcome you to look at our website. As you said, it's sourceofsynergyfoundation.org and evolutionaryleaders.net. Also, if you want to learn more about our moment of choice, you can go to ourmomentofchoice.com. And that's where you can learn more about the book and all of the contributors to the book. and how you can get the book on Amazon and other sources. And we're really grateful to our publishers, who's Beyond Words, Simon and Schuster. They've been absolutely fantastic. And we hope you enjoy the book, and we hope it inspires you.
All right, so here it is. You can order it if you haven't already, and I'm hoping a lot of people have ordered it from the first two shows we've done, ourmomentofchoice.com, and you can order from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Beyond Words, IndieBound. Here's the video, and definitely always make sure you sign up so that we can, definitely always want to track and let you know about all the amazing things that are happening. Thank you so much, Diane, for giving birth to all of this. Thank you so much. Reverend Sylvia, what would you like for people to know about you and the work that you do?
Thank you. Well, a couple of years ago, myself and a few members of my church initiated a program called Stand Up for Humanity. And I originally had a vision of, I said, 1 million metaphysicians on the mall. I'm here stationed in Washington, D.C. And so that vision came, 1 million metaphysicians on the mall, which is, of course, the mall between the Lincoln Center and the Capitol. And I just thought, wouldn't it be great to have 1 million consciously aware people coming together to hold an intention to speak for the world we want to create and to stand up for humanity. And then it morphed from 1 million metaphysicians on the mall to actually just a movement where people can stand up for humanity in whatever way feels comfortable for them. It can be through the work they are doing as their life work. It can be something as simple as extending kindness and love and compassion to a stranger on the street. We all have something to contribute to this whole, to the collective. And as everyone's been saying, it starts first with the individual. And so it was a call for people to think about, how will you stand up for humanity? In what way? And so we had 2 programs on the mall, and it was a wonderful experience. Diane came and Deborah as well, and I was so delighted to have them. But right now we're trying to regather and group ourselves because with the pandemic, we need to really, this is the time, this is the moment. And as I was listening to all these wonderful souls on the panel today, Spirit was saying, it's time to really rev up, stand up for humanity again to another level. So I thank you because I feel stimulated and I feel encouraged to bring more life to this movement. So you can see about it on my church's website, which is unityofwashingtondc.org. And I just say, look, right now, there's things from the past, but I know that we're going to be opening up to a greater vision of what Stand Up for Humanity can be about. So I thank you. And I thank you for this opportunity too, Scott.
Yeah, oh my gosh, isn't this fun?
Yes.
So, I'm on your website and I see the stand-up section. So does the volunteer call still work? Let's take a look there. Stand Up for Humanity. Yeah. So people can sign up here.
And they can share what ways they want to stand up, but we're going to be revising all of this. So just stay tuned, but you certainly can reach out and we'd love to have you to let us know that you're there, willing and ready to stand up for humanity.
Well, when you're ready, when you know what you want to do next, let me know and we'll dedicate the Awakening World a show or a weekend to that. And that's what we're doing now. We've had Sister Jenna on the show. She, in fact, co-hosted, like Reverend Deb co-hosted the last couple nights. Sister Jenna has co-hosted with us. And, it's really fun. Last week we were with the New Living Expo. In future shows, we're going to be collaborating with the Soul Play Festival and with the Relaxpansion Fest. So we're here to really help everybody know about everybody else.
Yes.
And,
yes.
So it's been such an honor to meet you, and I certainly would love to collaborate with you in any way that Great Spirit calls upon us to do so.
Thank you. It's a date.
All right. I'm looking forward to it. That sounds good. I'm up for it. Thank you. Well, I'm going to go to Justin because he's got a lot going on. And so there's actually two different websites. And I guess I'm not sure which one we should start with. Do you want to start, Justin, with your solo website or with your organization?
Yeah, we can start with my solo website, and that's a good place to start. And you know, my orientation to the world, the work that I do, is really based in the foundation that consciousness is primary, and that it is what's going on internally that has the biggest effect on our lives, and then the world collectively as we know it. So everything is grounded in really rewiring and optimizing ourselves to unlock our full potential, to experience all that we're capable of, such that we can then be the maximum force for good and change in the world, and also live really incredible, impactful, fulfilling lives as a result of that. So I have co-created with my business partner and close friend, who's not here today, but Jackie Nectel. We created the Flow Consciousness Institute, and we run courses and trainings on unlocking higher levels of consciousness, peak performance, health, intuition, going really deep into healing our deepest fears and traumas and so on and so forth, so we can really experience what it means to live an incredible life. And then I also run other courses as well, independently of that. And I do work with individuals. I do research into consciousness and nature of reality, and optimal ways of living and being. And I run another course called the Limitless Codex as well, which is all about unlocking our superhuman capacities in a lot of different areas, mentally, emotionally, health, and so on. And so everything is kind of, formed around this nucleus of ideas and passions. And so on my website, you'll find all kinds of videos and writings around that. And then on the Flow Consciousness Institute as well, we have a bunch of trainings that we run. And so, you can kind of surf through everything that's there and find something that piques your interest.
There's a lot. So the two websites, the first one was his name, justinfairman.com. And I'll just spell that. It's Justin, Justin. And his last name is spelled Faerman. And then his other website is the flowconsciousnessinstitute.com, flowconsciousnessinstitute.com. And you got a lot going on. Now, for example, this masterclass training, is that an online training? Is it live, or is it kind of program that people can do it?
Yeah, you can watch it at your convenience. We did record it live, and we do respond to questions, even though it's it runs basically all the time. So encourage people to dive in and check it out. It's a great overview of how we approach flow, which is a little bit different than classical flow, high performance flow states. This is much more about a Zen kind of non-dual approach to living in flow that has much more to do with optimizing our state of consciousness and our level of consciousness and so on and so forth, versus just trying to control our environment so we get into these altered states of consciousness.
Right. Wow. Well, thank you. It's great to meet you. And we'll have a chance for each one of you to have one last final thought. I guess we'll go to Bob. We haven't. I had quoted from Bob's website, but let's actually go there for a moment, because it's actually a beautiful website. There's a lot going on there. Let's see. That's a moment of truth. I've got so many websites open now. Bob, this is a chance for you to kind of share with people a little bit about what you want people to know that we're going to find on your website. Oh, and by the way, it's his name, which is robertatkinson.net, and that's where we're going right now. It's loading up. robertatkinson.net, and once again, our moment of choice shows right up. And Bob, of course, has written 8 books. So I'm seeing a lot of this. Look at the story of our time, from duality to interconnectedness to oneness. So, all right, Bob, there's a lot going on here. What do you want us to know?
Thanks, Scott. Yeah, there's that has all of my previous books. Just quickly, the one that it doesn't have yet is the new one, which won't be out until the fall, which is why it's not there yet. And I mentioned that earlier, Living into Wholeness. But on this, just while you're here, I do have a memoir
Ah,
called Year of Living Deeply,
yeah, right here.
a memoir of 1969. And it just happens for me, while we're talking about moments of choice, the reason that I ended up writing that memoir from my experiences in 1969 is because a whole string of experiences were built upon one choice after another that led me from one thing to the next. And just quickly to give you a quick example of how our choices are and can be at least really tied together to each other. And this goes back to my mid-20s, when I was living on the Hudson River, just a ways up from New York City. One day I just decided spontaneously to go down to New York City for the day. And while I was walking along 8th Street in Greenwich Village, I noticed a book in a bookstore window. I went into that bookstore, found the book that I had seen in the window, picked it up, and started reading it. And then in a few minutes, I looked up at the bulletin board next to where I was standing. And on that bulletin board was a poster announcing a talk by Joseph Campbell, whose book I was reading that moment.
Wow.
And I was faced with, because that poster was announcing a talk he was giving that night, just a couple of blocks away from where I was. And I had just the right amount of time to get over there. So I was, without even expecting it, knowing it, I was faced with an immediate choice. Am I going to go over and hear this author whose book I'm reading now, hear him talk? And of course, I made that decision immediately, spontaneously, and synchronistically and synergistically in every other way. And that ended up really changing my life, not only hearing his talk that night, but meeting him afterwards and having Joseph Campbell become a mentor for me in my mid-20s. And that moment of choice, though, was totally based on previous choices I had made to get me into that spot at that time. And I can go all the way back to my choice to go to graduate school in Seattle. If I hadn't decided when I was at the University of Washington to drop out of my first graduate program and go back to New York, I wouldn't have been in New York to begin with. And if I hadn't have, by chance, found this notice about a brand new graduate program in Cooperstown, New York, on American folk culture, I wouldn't have had that opportunity to go there to that program, which is where I ended up meeting Pete Seeger, who became another mentor. And it's just, so when we talk about moments of choice, it's just one thing leading to another based on our previous choices. And in my really amazing experience, all of those choices kept leading to something bigger and better, sort of, so to speak, in my early adult experiences. And so that's what the memoir is based on, including another choice to go to Woodstock or not, and so many other choices along the way.
Tell me that you did. Tell me that you did.
Yeah, that was an easy choice too.
Okay.
When I had the opportunity at that point I was sailing on the maiden voyage of the Clearwater, which is the sloop Pete Seeger raised funds to build, and our maiden voyage from New York to Albany got us to Albany the weekend of Woodstock. Mm-hmm. And it turned out that the captain of the sloop was an old friend of David Crosby, And he said, I want to go over to this festival, see my old friend David. Anybody want to come with us? So a few of us from the Clearwater went over to Woodstock with David. And there we were, a community of 500,000 people. I mean, so those are some of the ways that our instantaneous choices can not only change our life once, but continue to change our lives in more ways than just once.
Beautiful. Those beautiful stories. Thank you so much. Well, I'm going to bring everybody on for kind of a farewell moment here. And thank you each for choosing to be with us this Sunday morning on the Awakening World. And I'm not going to keep it on all five of us and just open it up to any final thoughts that anybody wants to share, any final messages, thoughts, inspirations that you wish to share.
I just want to offer deep gratitude, Scott, to you and to everyone who's out here doing this wonderful work, but especially for programs like this, because it's very, sometimes, we can operate in our little silos and our own little places, and we can also get a little tired. People are COVID fatigued. We can sort of get fatigued a little bit about everything that's going on and the amount of energy that it takes. And so for me, when I'm so busy trying to feed everybody else and keep everybody's spirits up, I sometimes have to sit back and take a deep breath. And it's programs like this. It's connecting with people like, all of the guests here, and that then re-energize me and feed me and, give me the strength to, okay, let's bring it on again. So I just want to say, hopefully that we all can find the place where you can plug in, outside of your own individual work, but plug in, connect to someone else who's doing a great work so that we can all feed, support, lift, love, empower each other and inspire each other. So this was inspiring for me. It's been a long day. I'm at the church. I finished speaking, and I rushed in to do this, but this gives me a little bit of energy. So I want to thank you and everyone else on the program. I love hearing it all. It was just great. And I too was at Woodstock also. And I just took a whim in college, and my boyfriend and I were sitting in the cafeteria and we were saying, there's a concert going on. You want to go? It's upstate. I said, yeah, let's go. And we went and had a great time.
That's
very cool. Very cool.
Great to have that in common with you, Sylvia.
Well, I didn't make it to Woodstock. I was on the West Coast, but I did go to Love-Ins, and I can say my life changed when I saw Jim Morrison performing. That was kind of my, oh my God, this is really cool moment. So, all right. Any other final thoughts that anybody wants to share before I say goodbye?
Just much gratitude to you, Scott. And like Reverend Sylvia said, everybody that produced the program, everybody here with us, everybody tuning in, we're all using our gifts at this moment of choice. And it's just so reassuring to know that there's people in the world that are doing everything they can to make a change. And that's what it's going to take. So everybody coming together. So thank you very much. Blessings to everyone.
All right. Well, thank you. Well, we always like to close with music when we're blessed to have our musical impresario, Omashar, with us. And before I go to Omashar, I just want to remind everybody that next weekend on the Awakening World, it's all about healing practices. Now, we go back and forth between focusing on how to awaken ourselves to support the planet, but also we all have healing journeys. And I'm really, just like this weekend, every evolutionary leader that you've met has been so impressive. We've got really a lot of world-class healers joining us next weekend. I'm going to be collaborating again with Jennifer K. Hill. She's an evolutionary leader, and she's got this wonderful organization, Om Heals. She's bringing some of her people on. So again, Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday morning, please do join us. And we're going to be really looking at very specific tools and practices for healing. So hopefully you'll all be joining us. Look forward to that. All right. Well, Omashar is with us. We got to hear Omashar last night, and I'm so grateful that he's with us again today. So Omashar, my friend, I'm putting the spotlight on you and going to ask you to close us out for the day.
Yes. Before that closing song, Justin, Diane, Sylvia, and Bob, you've touched me from all these different perspectives so deeply, and it just reminded me how important it is to share our perspectives, because I just feel lit up, fired up. As Reverend Sylvia was saying, I just have some extra juice for today. Unity of Washington, I believe, is your main squeeze. I'm just bringing you up on the screen. I was director of music for Unity of Kauai in Hawaii for over 9 years, and I took on that position because living in Kauai, I thought I'd become so laid back I'd fall over, and so I had to set myself up with the practice every week. And another thing, 2 more things before I sing. When I wake up in bed each morning, my mantra is, I enter this day in divine consciousness, with divine consciousness, by divine consciousness, and for divine consciousness. And I do my best to make them my first words, no matter what dream state I've come out of, and enter into the day that way. And one last thing, Diane, you were talking about the photons from the heart. One of my most recent practices is I'll pick half a dozen people each day, especially people that I perhaps have a falling out with or whatever, and I'll go into my heart and I'll send a direct ray of love from my heart to their heart. And it just said to me, yes, what you were saying about the photons and how we increase the photon projection from our heart by doing these practices. So I have full hope that I have full knowing that we will survive this and that we are joining together, and it is because of Scott and programs like that this is happening. Okay, now the song. It's called Now is the Time, and it's divine consciousness talking to me, and it says, you'll never walk this way again, because the world that we're leaving, we don't want to walk that way again. And so lay down all of your guards. And here we are. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you. I'm subjecting you to my voice, so thank you.
No, we love you. We love you. We love you. We love you.
All right. Deep breath. Love is all there is. You'll never walk this way again. Lay down all your guards. Your loving hearts will lead the way. The door is open. The wonderful and the new is waiting patiently. Step and you will see all you've been dreaming. Now is the time you've been waiting for so long. I've been holding you through all ages, knowing I'd be with you once again. You'll never be alone again. Please take my hand in yours. I love you just the way you are. You're my creation. The wonderful and the new is waiting patiently. Take the step and you will see all
while you've been dreaming. Now is the time you've been waiting for so long. I've been holding you through all ages, knowing I'd be with you once again. Take the step and you will see.
Thank you so much, beloved brother Omashar.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you so much.
One more thing. This little green screen here, these are the steps to the tour in Glastonbury that leads up to St. Michael's Mount, the church on the top, and that thing behind the window is a green screen of the tour in Glastonbury that I was at just a couple of months ago. Just a little fun thing.
I'm envious. I've been to the tour, but not for about 10 years. So
Yeah,
thank
yeah.
you.
Anyway, namaste.
Omashar, thank you so much. Thank you again, all of our wonderful presenters. And again, remember, everybody, we can make any moment sacred just by choosing to see the divinity or choosing to do the Oneness Pledge or doing our mantra. And that's how we all raise our consciousness. I so look forward to seeing all of you again next weekend. God's blessings and take care.
God bless you. Thank you.
I go to gallery view. It's always nice to turn on your cameras, everybody. Chance to see some of our friends. Thank you so very much.